Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another special episode of The Issue Live. I'm your host, L. Let's jump into it. It's great to be back, everybody. Great to see you guys. So first off this week, we have a Virginia man leaves old TV sets on people's porches while wearing one on his head himself. Now, my only concern is that where do you live that this happens, where you're that bored to where your prank is to put a TV set on your head and then leave an identical one on somebody's porch? And obviously you know that they're watching, right? That's, I'm pretty sure he's specifically targeting people that he knows have some type of surveillance, because why else? And I don't know what else to say about it, to be honest. It's just super creepy. Like, imagine coming home, watching, you see some old, abandoned, somebody just leave some old big booty TV set on your porch, and you come home, watch the surveillance tape, and it's some man wearing the TV on his head, dropping out. Like, what's the symbolism? What is he going for? That's the scary part right there.
How do you get a TV on his head in the first place?
Why would you walk around like? How are you walking around like who? Who saw that saw him walking around with that and didn't think there was something weird or suspicious about it? Somebody knows who he is. There's no way. Where does this happen, in Virginia? There's no way. There's no way somebody doesn't know who this person is. You have to have a special type of fucking sense of humor to pull something like this off. We'll move on. Moving on to our next topic is protesters and apologize. So, the funny part about this, right? Only Chinese protesters would apologize for basically protesting, right? But if you're not aware of what this whole thing is, right? So Hong Kong protesters are apologizing for the role in the chaos that erupted at the airport. And if you're wondering what it is that they're protesting or what they're all upset about, is the residents of Hong Kong are protesting a controversial bill that would allow residents to be extradited to mainland China. So if you're not familiar with Hong Kong is basically like a Chinese territory that's somewhat separate from the mainland China, almost like America and Puerto Rico. Basically, Puerto Rico is an American territory, but Puerto Rico is its own country, and it's somewhat similar with Hong Kong and China. It's a similar scenario. They're Chinese. They're considered Chinese people, but they're. I don't know if it's basically their own identity. If they have their own identity as something separate than Chinese people. But they don't like the idea of them being the Chinese government being able to extradite Hong Kong residents onto the mainland of China. And if you didn't see any of the videos of why they're actually apologizing, we have that right here for you. So this is the chaos that they're apologizing to American tourists for. They don't want people not, wanting to come to America. Come to China. Hong Kong to, vacation or anything like that. This poor cop getting his ass beat with his own baton, and then pulled the gun out. If that was America, he would have shot every goddamn body. At least he was nice enough not to pull the trigger. If that was an American cop, everybody would have got shot right there. But I guess apology accepted. I don't know. Not that I'm against. I would go to China if I had a passport and the money and the ability to go. I would for sure go. So apology accepted. Thank you. They're the only people. This is the first time I've ever seen something like this. I've never seen a country apologize to another country for protesting or their role in actions that took place. So that's got to be a first. But with that being said, moving on to our next topic, we have another dropout. Yay, thankfully. It's John Hickenlooper, former governor of Colorado, drops out of the 2020 presidential race. I'm sure you guys are upset about all this. I mean, he's one of the guys that we went over in past episodes and let you guys know that he was a nobody and didn't really need or deserve to be up there. I'm sure they're just going to replace him with some other fucking pasty white man, but for now, at least, he's gone.
Is there anything that he said during this time that he ran that left an impression on you? Anything?
At the top of my head, not at all. Not at all. And we've went over 2 separate debates, and all that I know about him is that he used to be the governor of Colorado. So that's how important that guy is. I know he did actually get significant time in the second debate, which again pissed me off. I don't like how they give these it's weird. It's almost like the DNC is purposely like working against itself. You know what I mean? Like the structure of it, how you don't have it on free television, and how you let CNN have monopolize it, and somebody like John Hickenlooper, who's probably not even polling anywhere over 1 or 2%, why he's even relevant enough to be up there, taking away time from serious contenders, and it's almost like they're doing Donald Trump and the Republicans a favor, that, or they're just that incompetent, maybe it's both. More than likely it's both. More than likely they're just incompetent and have some other type of agenda that they want to get through, because other than that, I don't understand why they would want John Hickenlooper up there, giving him as much time as they gave him during the debates, talking about nothing. I now that I think about it, he's a green energy guy. I'm pretty sure that's the platform that he ran on, but then again, that's a platform every single Democrat is running on. Maybe there's an exception of a few, that don't talk about it as much. But basically every liberal, every Democrat is going to be talking about, green energy and green jobs and bringing that, running on that on that platform. But you especially, you don't excite anybody. Nobody really cares. And so I'm happy that you dropped out. You do us all a favor. I'm hoping by tomorrow, there will be like another 8 dropout, but that won't happen. But thank you, man, for not wasting any more of our time. Appreciate it. Moving on. We actually this is something that we actually talked about on my very first episode. On my very first episode, we laid out, we explained basically Trump's immigration plan and what he plans to do going forward when it comes to immigration. And this was the one part. Overall, I think I graded it like a B+. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was okay, but this was actually the one topic that I was concerned about, and that is mainly what it has to do with is healthcare, because many people who everybody basically on welfare is on Medicare, and the people who can't get all, because there's a certain criteria you have to meet to get like food stamps or cash aid or any type for public assistance, right? You have to qualify for it, right? So a lot of times you don't qualify for cash aid, or maybe you don't qualify for food stamps. They'll still at least give you Medicare. They'll at least give you some type of health care. And that's something that troubles me about this more than anything, is the fact that the healthcare, because that's something that affects everybody, right? Disease, and that affects us as a whole, as a country. So it's in our, what's the word? It's in our favor to give as many people as we can who live in this country, legally or not, to provide them with some type of health care. Maybe not like a free health care system. You may not include them in a health care for all system. That maybe that Bernie Sanders would do or anything like that, but at least a Medicare system where they have something, they don't have nothing. It concerns me that even that would be denied for immigrants. That's not a good idea at all. Like I said, and mainly immigrants move into tight knit communities, right? They find places that they can come into and live comfortably, and so they densely populate areas. And so it would behoove America, it would be an American interest to make sure that anytime you have a densely populated people in a certain area in communities, that you keep them healthy, because that'll in turn affect everybody else if you don't. So that is another troubling thing about this. Other than that, honestly, when Trump first laid down his immigration policy and how he wanted it, I didn't think it was that bad. He set a criteria of what he wanted, what he expected, and he made it public to everybody who knew. So if you're somebody who wants to immigrate to America, you at least have a criteria to get to obtain citizenship. And I didn't think it was terrible. I really didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was reasonable. He wasn't asking for too much. Besides this right here, other than this right here, I thought it was okay. So with that being said, we'll move on to our next topic. We're speeding through these today. Jeffrey Epstein was found dead from apparent suicide in jail. Now, if you're not familiar with Jeffrey Epstein, this is a person who dates back, for a long time. He has a lot of powerful and big connections. They just call him a financier, which is, I don't know, a fancy way of calling him a white collar criminal. Because who the fuck knows how he obtained his money? He worked for Bear Stearns for a while, I believe. I don't know if I said that right. Some investment corporations, but he hasn't worked there, I want to say, in over 15 years. So, how else he accumulated a $500 million empire, who knows? I'm sure it has to do with whatever pedophile ring he was running. And the funny part and everybody's kind of speculating over how this happens, right? How he was under suicide watch before, then he was let off suicide watch, and I think maybe 2 days after he was let off suicide watch, he commits suicide. There's no camera footage because, how could you expect, it's not like we have the money for stuff like that, there's no cameras, whatever. But I know people are speculating that he was murdered, right? Because in the official autopsy said he had several broken bones in his neck, which happens when, with strangulation or I can't think of the word, right? But it goes along with strangulation, the way the way he was strangled, basically. And but they said there's still, it could still happen. It could still happen if you hang yourself or whatever. I don't necessarily think it was somebody going in there to kill him. I don't understand. I'm not so sure I'm gonna go along with that conspiracy. What I do think it is more along the lines of, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Man on Fire, but there's a scene in that movie when the husband, admits to orchestrating the whole kidnapping of his daughter, and Denzel Washington basically, he hands him a gun and a bullet and lets him know basically what to do. And I think that's more or less what happened. I don't more or less think it was somebody going in there to strangle him or to kill him. I think it was more or less, look, we took you off suicide watch, the cameras are down, you know what the fuck to do, because friends with Donald Trump, friends with the Clintons. This guy's had big and powerful people, and I guarantee you he's the biggest state witness we've probably had in probably over like 40 years, as far as who else could be implicated in his pedophile ring. And so that off top should have made him more, we should have protected him. We should have made sure we at least get him to trial. Like, at very least, you get the man to trial. That should, if he dies after that, so be it. But at very least, you get the man to trial. So the fact that how it transpired, and now they're just kind of like, nah, well, the coroner did his report, and it's a suicide, so we're just gonna take his word for it. I guess, if you say so. But it was kind of predictable. You could see this kind of coming a mile away. I'm not surprised by it. They didn't want him taken down. Powerful people around him. So that's what happens. You get off. And that's basically what happened to him. So one less pedophile out there. I guess good for us. But moving on.
And one thing I'll share with you all is that some of the campaigns are in touch with the TV network ahead of time to talk about what sort of attack they want to level on the stage.
They're like, an attack on Biden around this question would play really well.
Or yes, the campaign says, hey, we're going to make this attack against Biden, and then the network goes, okay, like, we get it, and then they help create that opportunity.
What a nightmare. I mean,
that's crazy. I'm gonna run that video back in a second, but so you saw that from the guys at H3. I'm not big enough to have Andrew Yang on my episode, so I had to use your content. I hope you're okay with that. So Andrew Yang basically coming out and letting everybody know that these debates are rigged, and it's something that we've talked about before, and how bullshit the spectacle of it all. And here you have it, Andrew Yang coming out telling everybody, look, these campaigns, they're in touch with the networks that do this and who host this, and let them know what they're doing and that they're going to make these things possible. So I'm going to run this video back again for you guys so you can see it again and, get the full experience of the weight of what this really means.
Yeah, and one thing I'll share with you all is that some of the campaigns are in touch with the TV network ahead of time to talk about what sort of attack they want to level on the stage.
They're like, an attack on Biden around this question would play really well.
Or yes, the campaign says, hey, we're going to make this attack against Biden, and then the network goes, okay, like, we get it, and then they help create that opportunity.
What a nightmare. I mean,
you see on this CNN, I told y'all last week. We told y'all these are mainstream news media outlets, and they are actively manipulating the news. They're actively, not just the news, but they're actively manipulating the presidential debate. This cannot happen. This is not something we should be okay with. CNN should not be able to manipulate the way, the way you perceive the news that they're giving you, or this debate in any way. This is crazy. We talked about it with Google and their influence, and how the power that they leverage over candidates, and what they did to Tulsi. And now that they're just gonna call CNN like, look, I'm gonna attack Joe Biden when it comes to this, that, and the other, help me make that happen. And they're okay, for the ratings. Let's get it. Let's make it happen. Man, that's troubling, man. And that's exactly why CNN got the L of the Week last episode. Because I'm not stupid. And the people aren't stupid. They can tell these things, man. And I was saying that since the very first debate that something was fishy about all this stuff that's going on, and the manipulation that's going on by the media. And there you have it right there. There you have it right there. It's ridiculous. So with that being said, let's move on to hot takes. So today's hot take comes from Gus Jefferson the fourth, and he sent us a video asking and asked what I think about Cuomo's pulling of the race card. Oh, this is the Chris Cuomo video. Run the video, Abby.
I thought that's who you were.
No, punk ass bitches from the right call me Fredo. My name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN. Fredo is from The Godfather. He was our weak brother.
Isn't that your
And they
brother?
use it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian? Are you Italian? It's a fucking insult to your people. It's an insult to your fucking people. It's like the N-word for us. Is that a cool fucking thing?
You're a much more reasonable guy in person than you seem to be
And
on
this
television.
fucking guy is just trolling.
If you got something you want to say about what I do on television, and say it, but don't call me a
Hey
fucking
man, hey,
insult.
listen.
What?
I don't want any problems.
Yeah, you're gonna have a big fucking problem.
What's the
It's a
problem?
little different on TV. Don't fucking insult me like that.
I didn't insult you.
The
I
fuck
asked
you call me Fredo? It's like I call you punk bitch. You like that? You want to your nickname?
I love how he the more the video went on, the more gangster he got in his Italian accent. Like, you want me to call you fucking punk bitch, huh? Is that what you fucking want? They call me fucking, you think it's funny to call me fucking Fredo? Huh? Huh? I'll fucking ruin you, you fucking bitch. And CNN stands behind this. They probably pay him too much money to fire him. So that's hilarious. And then the fact him saying that's like calling black person the N-word. That's the Italian's version of the N-word is Fredo. Where you pulling that out of your fucking ass? That's ridiculous. Like, this is what I mean by how out of touch people are, because what's gonna happen to Chris Como is now Chris Como is forever Fredo. That's forever Fredo now. Like, you're never gonna live that down. You're fucking Fredo for the rest. That's you. Run the video one more time for me. I gotta see it again.
I thought that's who you were. Huh?
No, punk ass bitches from the right call me Fredo. My name is Chris Cuomo. I'm an anchor on CNN.
You're much
Fredo.
I'm an anchor on
is from The
CNN.
Godfather. He was that weak brother.
Isn't that your
And they
brother?
use it as an Italian aspersion. Any of you Italian?
That's not true.
Are you
I
Italian?
got a little
It's a
bit.
fucking insult to your people. It's an insult to your fucking people. It's like the N-word for us. So is that a cool fucking thing?
You're a much more reasonable guy in
Look how
person
gangster
than
he
you
get
seem to
right
be
here.
on television.
Yeah, but if you want to play, then we'll fucking play. If you got something you want to say about what I do on television, and say it, but don't call me a
Hey
fucking
man, hey,
insult.
listen.
What?
I don't want any problems.
Yeah, you're gonna have a big fucking problem.
What's the
It's a
problem?
little different on TV. Don't fucking insult me like that.
I didn't insult you.
The
I
fuck
asked
you call me Fredo? It's like I call you punk bitch. You like that? You want to your nickname?
It's like I call you punk bitch. Oh man, that's tough, man. Like I said, man, he's never gonna live that down now. From now on, everywhere he fucking goes, people are gonna call him Fredo. That's just gonna be him. He's gonna be hounded. It's gonna be his entire existence as a professional has boiled down to Fredo. That's what he did. Like, if he would have just like laughed about it or made it whatever, brushed it off, it's not a big deal. But you fucking get crazy like that and act like he just fucking called you some racial slur. Fredo, first of all, has never been anybody's racial slur in the history of ever for any Italian. Ever. You just made that up. Like, and because you did that, you're a fucking meme now. Your entire career boils down to you just being Fredo. From now on, and you're never gonna live that down. And you could be in a grocery store, out to dinner, everywhere people see you from now on for the rest of your life. Chris Como, you're Fredo. Oh man. And about as far as him pulling the race card, when it comes to him saying that, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely baseless, and it's stupid. It's just stupid. Like, it wasn't that serious. It was the guy was. I mean, I'm sure the guy was trying to say it in an insulting way and to get you riled up. But for you to go as far as to call it, the N-word for Italians, you just set yourself up for the rest of your life being called Fredo. Because people are fucked up. People are mean. And I'm not gonna lie. If I seen you, I'd come and call you Fredo. Like, you're Fredo. You're fucking Fredo now. This is you. Sorry, buddy. So moving on, let's get on to our main topic. And our main topic, and this is a serious topic. Let's get serious. Our main topic today is, our main story, I should say, is concerning guns. Given the recent mass shootings, and even here, it's just kind of hit home in a certain way. Here in Riverside, not far, less than 10 miles from my house, a CHP officer was killed during a traffic stop from a guy who was basically just having a bad day, and the cop was trying to I guess the cop was going to impound his car, and dude decided that he didn't want that to happen and pulled out a massive machine gun and shot 2 officers, killing one of them. I'm not sure, the other one might have died or hurt something. I didn't know it was true. I didn't check back on it, but I know for sure the one did pass away. And I actually know the cousin of that officer who passed away. And so guns, what's happening with what has happened lately is with, concerning mass shootings and just the violence in general, that's, it may not be on the uptick, but at least it perceivably seems to be that way, So first I want to let's look at this from the statistics point of view, right? If we look at this from the stats, right? If we look at stats, firearms are used in nearly 500,000 crimes a year here in America. Roughly 110,000 people die from guns every year. And if you look at the per capita numbers, right? If you take 100 people, so for every 100 people in America, there are 120 guns out there. That means there's a gun for every man, woman, and baby, and then some in this country that are out there. That's nearly 400 million guns that exist in this country. And that doesn't mean 400 million guns in the possession of people, right? That means, guns in storage, guns collecting dust in somebody's, storage unit somewhere in the world. But 400 million guns, nearly 400 million guns, that exist in America. More stats, another troubling stat is, of all those 400 million guns that exist, right? 1,073,257 of those guns are registered. So of all the 400 million guns that are out there, there's only a million, it's not even 1.5 million guns that are actually registered to people. So that leaves basically roughly 392 million guns, unregistered guns out there. Now, like I said, that includes guns that are set up in stores, in somebody's storage, or that are just around. That doesn't necessarily mean 392 million guns in the possession of person to person. You know what I mean? A singular person or a singular entity, being used or anything like that. That's not what that means. But to put in perspective, China is the next country with the closest amount of guns, right? So China, collectively, as an entire country, collectively has 50 million guns. That's what is that? 20%? I think somewhere around 20% the amount of guns that we have in America. And they have a population of over 1 billion people. They have the next closest amount of guns to us. But their per capita numbers, their per 100 citizens in China, there are 3.6 guns that exist. Compared to per 100 in America, 120. And their population is over a fucking billion. I mean, that's... we're looking at statistics, right? And I understand statistics do not tell the entire story. But there's another very troubling statistic out there, and that that goes with mass shootings. And mass shootings is anything where is a shooting that happens where there are 4 or more, I believe, deaths occurring in one time, in one shooting. America has had over 249 mass shootings this year. This year, so far. 249. The rest of the world, the entire rest of the world, has 7. 7 mass shootings. Not like this country had 7 or, Norway or Germany had 7. No. The entire rest of the world collectively has 7 mass shootings compared to 249 this year in America. Now, from a statistical standpoint, you'd I mean, what is the excuse for that? I don't try to rationalize things, but I try to think of things from a realistic standpoint, you know, and look at both sides of the argument and where I see, you know, where there's common ground. But if you're looking at this from a purely statistical standpoint, I mean, 249 mass shootings in a year so far. We're in August. We're in August. We still got like 4 months to go. You know, and then you have 110,000 deaths a year from guns. The stats of that aren't looking good. Now let's look at this in terms of reality and what we should do about it, right? I don't have the fucking answers. Don't think that I do. But you have to be careful when it comes to creating laws about things, right? Because you have to understand that just creating laws or just making something illegal or harder to do does not fix a problem. Like I said, there are 400 million guns in this country. 392 million of them are unregistered. So, you know, just because you make it illegal does not make it that much harder to get. I mean, drugs are illegal. Methamphetamines are illegal. Heroin is illegal. And there's plenty of that shit going around. You know, plenty of it. And it's not hard to get. And it's the same thing with guns. Being somebody I'm not somebody who's in like a meth or heroin circle, so it'd be a lot harder for me to obtain meth or heroin. The crazy part is, I could get a gun easier, a legal gun, an unregistered, illegally obtained gun, easier than I can get drugs. Easier. And that's probably the case for a lot of people. It's much easier to get a gun than it is to get heroin. That's crazy for somebody like me who doesn't partake in heroin or methamphetamines or hard drugs in general. The fact that I could obtain if I really wanted to, it would be easier for me to go out there and get an AK-47 or an AR-15 before I'd be able to go get some heroin, because I don't know nobody in that circle. But everybody has guns. This is America. There's enough guns for everybody in the world. And the problem is that if you make this illegal, you're just going to create an illegal market, an illicit illegal market that's going to cause more death and destruction, the same way that the drug war did, you know. And on top of that, it's going to hit the black community first and worst, especially if you have a situation where you're banning certain guns and you're giving police power to go in and take certain guns. What that's going to do is that is going to hit black people first and worst, without a doubt. That is just an excuse to be able to go into the hood, you know, break door downs and take guns away. And that is who it's going to hit first before it goes anywhere else. So you have to realize what it is that you're actually dealing with, especially when it comes to mass shootings. You're dealing with a mental problem. You're dealing with, you know, a gun problem. There's a lot of different economical factors that go into this, you know. And the one thing that almost all these mass shooters have in common is that they're all basically lonely losers. That is another trouble. Now, I'm sure that has to do with mental illness, but that is a common thread when it comes to all the mass shooters. That not all of them are lonely losers. In some cases, I think the guy in a few years ago in Florida that went into the gay club, he was married. But and the San Bernardino guy, he was married as well. I'm pretty sure they had children too. But more times than not, especially when it comes to the right-wing radicals that do it, they're all basically losers who are lonely and girls won't fuck them. So that has to do with something. And I don't know how you necessarily fix it. I don't know what you do about the gun. I don't know what you do about guns. Like I said, do I think somebody should have an AK-47 or AR-15, just a regular Joe Schmo? No. But that ship has sailed, you know. that ship sailed. They're already here. They're already in this country. And if people want to get them, whether they're illegal or not, they're gonna be able to get them. It's easy. It's very easy to get a gun in America, legally or illegally. Probably, it's easier to get it illegally than it is legally. It's easier. So, I'm not quite sure what you do. And it's a troubling, where do we go from here as a country, as a nation? Because it's obviously something that's just not going to fade itself out. It's just getting worse and worse and worse every year, worse and worse. More people dying. There's more death. There's more destruction. And I don't have the answers. I don't think anybody does. I think the first thing we have to tackle is the mental health aspect of it. That to me has the most to do with it. People are going through a lot mentally, don't know how to deal with it. They think their problems are caused by certain groups of people, when really their problems are their own for the most part. And they choose to lash out. And then they get the notoriety that comes with it. Their face gets put on the news. Everybody's talking about them. And now they're a martyr for whatever cause that they wanted, That's part of it too. So, like I said, I don't have the answers. I wish I did. I don't really think anybody really does. So maybe that's a topic that we can look into in our next episode. But with that being said, we're gonna move on to my favorite part of the episode, and that is L of the Week. Now, L of the Week goes to this fucking butch who. So her name is Jerry Kelly, who's actually a wife of a Arkansas jail administrator, and who was arrested for pulling a gun on 4 black teenagers fundraising door to door for high school football. And you got to be one real racist piece of shit to walk outside. Because in the story, I read the full story, the full coverage. In the full story, the kids didn't even get to her doorstep before she came out there, seen them, got her gun, went out there, held them all up at gunpoint on the ground until the police got there. And this is just an example of what it's like to be living while black. That no matter what it is you're doing, right or wrong, no matter what your intentions are, no matter, like I said, you're fundraising for your high school football team. And if you're in a certain community, the people there are automatically going to label you as a criminal. And these are the things that affect black people mentally, I feel like, more than anything. The fact that I'm condemned in your eyes before I even get a chance to talk to you, see you, or anything. The fact that you would come outside, pull a gun on some teenagers fundraising, and I'm sure you didn't know you just seen 4 black kids walking down your street. That's why you just decided to pull a fucking gun out, And that's one of the more troubling things when it comes to I don't want to necessarily say divisiveness, whatever, how the fuck I said it, butchered that word. But but that's one of the more troubling things when it comes to race relations, the fact that, perception becomes people's reality, in that no matter what you would have told this person, right, their perception, this lady's perception of black people is criminal, and it shows in her actions. And this stuff like this happens all the time. When in another scenario, you could just see 4 little white kids somewhere, and it's just boys being boys. But 4 black kids walking down the street in a neighborhood you don't think they belong in, you assume they're criminals, and you pull a gun out on them. So Jerry Kelly, first of all, it's a weird ass name. And the fact that you're somebody's wife with a comb over haircut is another reason why you're taking this L of the Week home, because you're just contributing to the racism that we see in black people day to day. Not just black people, but Hispanics have to deal with day to day, to where off top, they're just seen as criminals. And so, with that being said, that is the end of today's episode. Thank you, everybody who chose to tune in to watch. We should be back next week, if not the week after. And until then, take care, everybody. Stay out of trouble, kids.
I've got a bad feeling about this. Hold it! What the fuck